data type in Python, the rule governing naming of variable in Python. Then we talked about operators, the arithmetic operators, then multiple assignment, how you can assign multiple variable to different variable names. Then we talked about strings. We have the single quotation, the double quotation, and we talked about comments, where you use hash to start the comment, and this is multi-line comments, like in more than one line. Then string concatenation, multiply a string by an integer. Then we stopped at boolean, which is true or false. So that's where we are going to start today. So I forgot to mention raised to power, that's square root, power of, for example, 7 raised to power 2. Instead of using one multiplication, so you just double it. That's 7 raised to the power of 2, that's 49. Then 2 raised to power of 2, that's 4. That's raised to power. And the boolean, we have true and false for the boolean values. So there are cases whereby you have more than one condition in a single expression. For example, 5 less than 3 and 5 greater than 6. So this particular expression will be, it will first take care of the first part of the and sign, then the other part, then it will now start as another single expression. For example, 5 less than 3 will equate to false. Then 5 greater than 6 will also equate to false. For this AND condition, it means for it to be true, all the two conditions on both sides must be true. So this particular one will give us false. That's it. So one other thing I forgot to mention is concatenation, casting, variable casting. It simply means converting one variable to the other. Converting one variable to the other. For example, we have my number that equals to 87. If I check the type, I'm going to say integer, type num. So I can change it from integer to float. Type number 2 equals to float my number. So I can now check the type of number 2, my second variable. So it is not float, so we can check it out on 2. So we have 87.0, whereas we declared it at 87. We can use the same thing for float. A equals to 89, 78.4. Then if I check the type of A is float. If I want to change into integer, int A, that's 78. Let me name it as my B variable so that I will be able to check the type, then type B. Are you following, please?
I think you're fast. Sorry.
Okay. From string, C equals to 45. So since it has this quotation mark, it means it's a string. Let's check the data type C. The data type for C is string, so we can convert it to integer. D equals to int of C. Then we check the type for D now. Type D. So we can see that it has been converted to an integer value. The same thing for float. E equals to 56.8. Then let's check the type of E. You can see it is a float. Then we can say F equals to the string of E. Then we check the type, the type of our new variable, which is f. I see that e is now string. If we print it out, we will see quotation mark on it, print f. This is our f. So that's string casting and string conversion. You can convert from one data type to another, from string to integer, from integer to string, from float to. One thing you cannot do is you cannot convert character letters. For example, name equals to John. Then let's check the type. Type name. The type is string. It's not possible to convert this to integer because it is a character data type. It is not number, unlike this. Number equals to 45. 45. This is a string, but it can be easily converted to integer. Let's try to convert this John to name 2 equals to int of name. You can see the error, invalid literal for int John. That means we cannot convert character string to integer or any other data type. So another thing I forgot to mention is order of execution of program in Python. Python, it runs its code from top to bottom, meaning that it takes the first line as the first program. Then if you write another line under it, it changes the meaning of the first letter. This is what I'm talking about. For example, you say A equals to 10. Then you check your A is 10. On this same line or on another cell, you say A equals to bag. Then you check for A. It will only take the last value. Okay, this should be in quotes. Our A is bag. It means that the new declaration is will overwrite the previous one. The order of execution is from top to bottom. For the fact that you declare A as 10 already, since you have another line, another A meaning another thing, it will only take the last variable you declare with it. That's the order of execution of Python from top to bottom. So today we'll be discussing more about string. And we have different type of string. We started with this in our last class. Yeah, we started with where is string. Okay, we started with something like this, school bag concatenation. So we are going to continue from there today. So the one we discussed is just writing, okay, school equals to, let's say, unilag. Yeah, that's just a line, one line string. Then we can have a string in multiple lines. This is Python class for data science and analytics. Then for the multi-line string, we do it exactly like the multi-line comments. It will be in triple quotation mark. So let me try to print B now. Print B. You can see that each of the line is maintained. We're like this one stops at comma. Exactly what we print is stops at comma. Then we have the second line for data science. Then the last line analytics, including the full stop we have. So let's say another string is greet equals to hello. So we want to know the length, the number of letters, the number of characters we have in our string. Just say length, len, greet. You can see that we have 5, which is this is the first one, the second one, the third one, the fourth one, and 0 being the fifth one. There is something we call indexing, accessing the element, like accessing the letters, the character in a string. We do that by indexing. For example, if we want the first letter of the greet variable, we just say greet. we use square bracket for that. It's different from the normal parenthesis. This is the parenthesis, this is square bracket, and we have the third one. This is curly bracket. I think this one is more prevalent in Java programming language. So to access each element of the variable, like each character in the variable. One thing about pattern is the indexing starts from 0. For example, this H, it will mean is the first, it is in the first position, then the index value will be 0. Then the next one, the second element will be 1, the third one will be 4, then will be 2, then the fourth one will be 3, then the fifth one will be 5. So if I want to access this first one, I will put 0. I wrote O instead of 0. That's it, I have H. Then if I want to access the fourth one, that will be index number 3, grid 3. That will give me the fourth element. That's it, L. Then if I want to enter, if I want to access the last one, grid 4. So there are many ways to access the fourth element, the last element. We can use negative index. That will be -1. It give me the last character. Then I can use -2 too. Great. So -2. -2 will give me this second one. -3 will give me this one. -1 will give me this one. -5 will give me the age. See, -2. That's L. That's -1, -2. Then let me change this to -3. Then -5. I have my age. There's something called slicing as well. Slicing, like you need a range, not just a single character. For example, let's say we need from this E and LL. Since this one is 1, this one is 0, followed by 1, 2, 3. When we want to index, we start from the first element. That would be E. That's 0, 1. The index number is 1. Then we have the last element, ELLO. We want to stop on L, on the fourth character. So we need to include when we are indexing, we need to include the last one. Although it will not be included, but we need to include it in our command. That will be 4. So that we have ELL. It excludes the last character. If we want it to be included, so we change this one to 5. That's it, LO. We can have negative indexing as well. Let's say we need from this LL, we just need these two LL. We want to use, let's first use positive indexing. This 0, 1, 2, 3, that's from 3, 5. No, that would be 2 to 4. 4. We want to do the same thing with negative indexing. This is -1, -2, -3. It will be -3 to -5, -3, -5. Wow. -3, -1. Yeah, from -3 to -1. So that's how we index in string. And another thing we can do, we can loop through all the characters in the element. For example, we can use for loop for letter in grids. Print letter. We want to print each letter in the grid variable. So we can see we have HELLO. So we'll talk more about this first statement later in the course. There are a lot of methods on string. Methods are just like mini function. String methods. So the first one is index. Create dot index. Index 0. It means we want the element that takes the first position in this grid. Okay, we want to check the element of each character. Let's say we want to know where L is. That's the function of index. It is at index 2, at position 2. We know our first element is age. You tell us position, the index will be 0. That's index. Then we can count the number of a particular letter. For example, we want to know how many L we have. Greet.count. Then count age. We have one age. And let's count L. Since we have more than one L, greet.count L. That's 2. It's telling us we have 2 L in our variable. So another method is greet.upper. We can actually change the case from uppercase to lowercase to title case. Greet.upper will change everything to uppercase. That's it. Then we have greet.lower. I think we can use title case as well. Title case, can we?
Thank you, Jesus.
Okay, this title, greet.title. We use title case whereby the first letter is in capital letter. Then we have swap case. Greet.swap. Swap means maybe when you declare the variable for the first time, you declare, well, this is how I declared it. I made the first one capital letter, then others small letter. What swap case we do is it will interchange. The one that was capital letter before will be changed to small letter. The one that was small letter will be changed to capital letter. That's the function of the swap case. We can see that in action now. Then we can try to replace, we can use replace to greet.replace. Replace. In replace, we first type the element we want to remove, like you want to replace with another letter. Let's say our age. Then I want to replace. I will type the new one, the new letter I want to use it. Like I want to be there instead of the age. What can we use instead of age? Hello, Malo. Let's use M. Then we have Melo instead of hello. So that's one of the methods we have in Python. And we have split as well. For example, what's the first string I declared here? B. Yeah, I have B. That's my B. So I want to break it into different, like I want the sentence to be broken into each word. Print B. So I want it to be broken. B.split. By default, it will be splitted like we're using this the white space between them. So this will be alone, this will be alone, A will be alone, the Python will be alone, the class will be alone. We can see it here. This is a Python class for data science and analytics. So that's the function of the split. That's the function of the split. Then we talked about concatenation in our last class, whereby you add strings together. Table plus water, which will give us table water combined together. If we need a space in between, we can just add space. Space. That's empty space, then plus water. Okay, I just put the quotation, but I didn't really press the bar space, so I need to press it. So I have the space now. That's one of the methods, one of the operations we can perform on string. Then we move to double quotes, single quotes. For example, maybe normally for string we use either double quote or single quotes. Bag. I use this bag. Then we can have single quotes bag. For example, maybe sometimes you are writing a program that involves making use of apostrophe. Let's say it's a cat. It's a cat. You can see I want to make sure that this S is part of my Y variable, but this thing is seeing it as the first, this is the beginning of the string. Then once this thing appear again, it sees it as the end of it. So I need to make use of double quotes here instead of the single quotes. Instead of the single quote, I can now have my cat in peace now. I have the apostrophe now. Why? And we have escape character. For example, I want something to be, I want it to escape to escape the like the syntax. I want it to be printed out. For example, I have this. This bag is mine for me. I have everything here. But if I try to put this one in double quotes, it gives me error. But I want this for me. I want this for me to be included as part of my syntax, and I want it to show. So what I need to do is to use an escape character. To do that, all I need to do is just to use the backslash at the beginning and at the end of the statement of the particular, like the particular place I need the double quotes. This bag is mine. So I want the double quote to be included. And this is now, you can see it. This is the escape character. These two, the forward, the backward slash, backslash, the opening and the closing backslash with the double quotation. This, the last one here is closing the first one I have here, but this next one and this one, they are for the escape for the escape character. So that's when you want to make use of the single quotation, double quotation. Actually, by default, you can use any one of them. But if you know that you need something like this in your code, so you need to make use of the double quotation instead. So these are the example I have here. So I just thought.
I have a question, please.
Hello.
Yes, I have a question.
Okay, what's the question?
Okay, yeah. The thing is, the one you just did now with the double quotation. So my question is, when we pass a character to a variable,
Yes.
and when you print it, I believe it will be in code, right?
Yes, let's just do that.
Okay, so
For example, this is an example. It is
yeah,
a cat.
exactly.
This is an
Yeah,
example. It is encoded by default.
yes,
So it is telling us that this is a string data type,
yeah.
the y variable. So the for loop is just like looping through an item.
On,
For loop is just
sorry, excuse me. I
hello.
think my question has not yet been answered. My question is about the one we printed just now, because my thought is to print it and we'll be having a kind of code for like this bag is mine. Probably it will be in
Okay.
code as well.
If you
Or
want
is it
it to be,
because
no, I was actually concentrating on the double quotes I have at the middle. If you want it to be exactly like this, we need to declare it as a variable first.
okay. Now I
Let's
get it.
say
Now I get it.
y I mean p equals to this. then we print J, or we just type J. It's actually the same thing, but if you but to be very sure that what we are doing is actually in string data type, we can just type the type and J to check the data type. So it's a string. So it will not be, and we can keep our questions till the end of the class. So for loop is just like you looping through and iterating over a sequence, like something maybe you have more than one thing in a collection, so you want to check through. And there are a lot of keywords we can add to our for loop. We have for loop and while loop. Basically, we use for loop when you know, like where your starting point and your finishing point. You just use a for loop. But when you don't really know where you want to stop, it's better to use a while loop. While loop is just like for while loop to break to end, you need to put a condition. Once the condition is false, so it breaks out of the loop. Let's do some, for example, the greets I have here. Greets. We try to check each letter, each character in this grid. You can say for letter, the conventional way is like the normal conventional way is just for I in grids. And do something. Print I. The I will be representing each character of the grid variable. Print I. So to make it more maybe understandable, you can use for letter. That means it will be printing each letter in the grid variable. So we have it. Another thing is range. Range is like a keyword, range 1. By default, it takes in only one parameter, but we can put as much as 3, up to 3 parameters. The first one is if we put just one, it will take it as the stopping point. If I say range 6, by default, it will take my starting point. It has a starting point, start, stop, and step. So by default, the only compulsory one is the stopping point. So if you put in just 6, it will take the 6 as the stopping point. Then it will start from 0, and the step will just be 1. For example, we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But one thing about range is the last element will not be included. Range 6 is just from 0 to 6. For I in range, then 6, print I. This is what I just said. The first, it will take 0 as the starting point, then it will take the 6 as the starting point. One thing to note is that the stopping point will not be included. If you want it to be included, we will need to add one more number, like we just add +1. For example, if I need this 6 as part of my printer, I'll just change this to 7. And by default, the step is just one step at a time. For example, 0, add 1, 1, add 1, 2, add 1, 3. Then I can customize this. I can say I want it to start from 1. Then I have my 7. I need 1 to 5. I have my 6. That's it. I'm starting from 1. Then the step by default is still 1. Then if I want to change it, the step I want it to be jumping, let's say 2 steps at a time. Then I put 2. And say 1. Then it skip 2. We have 3. Then after that we have 5. For example, we want to print even number between let's say 1 and 100. We can just start with 2. We know the first even number is 2. Then we put 100. Then the step is to jump 2, 2, 2. Then we have it there. So these are the even numbers between 1 and 100. If you want 100 to be included, we can just put 101 as our stopping point. So that's it. We have the 100 there now. It's the same thing for the even number. For the odd number, okay, let's say we want to have a multiple of 3. It's starting from 3. Then I'm not sure 99 is a multiple of 3. Then we want the step to be 3. So these are the multiple of 3 between 1 and 100. These are the multiples of 3 between 1 and 100. It's jumping 3 steps at a time. 3 steps at a time. So that's That's for condition. There are times maybe, okay, let's make use of another. Let's say I have my color. Color equals to, let me make use of lists. Should I? Okay, let me just wait. For example, if you don't want anything to happen in your first statement, you can just pass. You don't want anything to happen, you can pass. In this place, we have actually print out each value in the break means we want to, for example, we want to know that if, let's say, we want to know if what's a multiple of 3. If 45 is a multiple of 3, you can say if I is equals to 45, then print I. We want it printed. Print I, then break out of the loop since we see what we need. We want to check if I is 45 is a multiple of 3. Then when we see our 45, then we stop the loop. That means 45 is a multiple of 3. Let's try something else. 42. If I is okay, the break statement should be on the same line with this. If I is equals to 42, then print I, then break out of the loop. Okay. 45. I think the break should come, the print should come after the break statement. Print I is still printing the I for us. There is something about programming languages, all of them, we call it indentation. For example, this is like a conditional statement for I in range, something blah blah. It contains three things. The first one is this keyword for, then the condition, then this semicolon is very, very important. Then immediately after the semicolon, there should be a white space, at least one. By default, if you press enter, it is going to give you the white space. And see, the white space is the distance from this place to the beginning of the program. We will talk more about this break statement when we get to the list. So this is the indentation. Another thing, this if statement is another expression. Then after it, we have the colon. Then the break statement under it is after this white space from here to this place. So we talk more about indentation when we get to the list. So if statement is just like a condition, if something is equals to something, do this. For example, name. Okay, let me just say password. Password equals to pass. If password, if what you enter as password is the same thing as pass, you print access granted. Print access granted. Because the password here is equals to pass, that's why we have access granted. There is a keyword we use to input variable in Python. We call it input statement. For example, password. This we want to rewrite this same program now. Password equals to input. Input is telling us that we want user to enter something on the screen, like to type something on the screen. Input, please enter the password. Please enter the password. And that's password. If password is equals to, I talked about this equals to the double equals to sign and the single one. The first one is for assignments, where this one is for comparison. You are comparing what you have at this side to the variable you have at the other side. If password is equals to pass, then print access granted. If I run this code now, it is going to ask me for the password. You can see here, please enter the password. Let me say password is pass. Nothing happened. So let me now enter the correct password. Pass. And see access granted. So there's a situation maybe when the user enter a wrong password, we want the program to alert the user, sorry, you've entered a wrong password. Please try again. So that's where this else statement comes in. We have if and else. Else we do some other thing. If the first condition is not true, else we do something else. Else print access denied. Let's try again. Let's try to input wrong password. So about indentation that I was talking about the other time, we can see this is the if keyword, then we have the condition at the middle here, then we have the colon. After the colon, we have our statement, like what we want to happen. Then immediately after this colon, we must have this white space. It is telling us that this particular statement will only be executed if this condition is true. Otherwise, it will not be executed. It is telling us that the print statement is actually under the if statement. That's why we have this space after the, like, it's not starting from the beginning as the if statement. This one is like the parent statement, then this is the daughter statement. The same thing with else. Else print access denied. Please try again. We have this semicolon after the else, then we have this white space. This is what we call indentation. This line will only be executed following this particular for particular line. Let's try this. Password is just enter anything. Access denied. Please try again. So let me now enter the correct password. Pass. You see this access granted. So there are some things we can add to the else statement. We can say, maybe let's say we have two passwords. Password equals to whatever you pass. If password equals to pass, the password equals to pass. It should be in quotation, pass or pass. So our password now, we have two passwords. The first one is pass, the second one is pass. So if password is equals to pass, print access granted. Otherwise, print access denied. Let's go with pass now. Pass. So you say access granted. Okay, I have the or statement there. So you can make use of this. Another thing we can do is to use the Alif statement. Alif statement is just like continue with the else statement. Alif password is equals to pass. I don't want to include this or, so I will be having two passwords now. The first password is pass, the second one is pass. What do I want to be executed? I want this same line to be executed. So if you press enter, by default, just paste whatever you have there. So here now I have two passwords. The first one, the program is if password is pass. If password is equals to pass, grants the person access. Then if password is also equals to pass, I don't need this line. If password is also equals to pass, this is also one of the passwords, so you can also grant access. Otherwise, if you see any other thing different from these two, then access denied. 9.5, false happening at 9.5. And if password, okay. The error is I'm using this the single equal to sign instead of the two for comparison. So it's asking me for password now. Pass, access granted. Then pass, access granted. Then let me enter some other thing different from the two. Is it access denied? Try again. There is a way we can write the program that it will continue asking for password. It will not stop until we enter the right password. So we get to talk more about that as we proceed in the course. So we can talk about Python lists now. A list is they are used to store multiple items in a single variable, and it has like just like we have different method for our string, like the count, the index, the upper, the lower for string. We have these are some of the methods we can apply on a Python list. And what is that? What?
Excuse me, I have a suggestion.
Okay.
I don't think if we should postpone this list to the next class, just a suggestion actually, because some people might have a question, and this one again, for us to go through this one is kind of a little bit critical. We need to check
Okay.
it. So
Let me try to explain from the where we started today. Like a kind of revision. You can stop here. Actually, it's almost time. So that's where we started for raised to power. Like you want something raised to power, it raised to power of something else. For example, 7 raised to power 2 give us 49. It's part of the arithmetic operators I forgot to talk about. Then the Boolean, we have true or false. I talk about this. This will be executed separately, this one separately. Then we compare with the sign in the middle. For example, this one is equates to false. This one also equates to false. Then false and false is false. Then I talk about casting. Casting is just converting from one data type to another. You can convert an integer to float, a float to integer. But you can convert almost one data type to another, except this string. For example, you say a name is John, then you want to try to convert it to integer. It's not possible. There's no way you can convert John to integer, like number data type is not possible. But this 45 is a string, but it's actually number. It is easy to convert this 45 to string, unlike this one. Then we talk about the multi-line string, just like multi-line comment. You make sure it's in three quotation, double quotation is between three quotation marks. So that's multi-line comments. Then to check the length, the length of a variable, you put len, then in the variable name. This one is telling us we have 5 characters in the LO, and it is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If we check the length of this B, it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It will be 10, because it will take each of them as like an element of the list. Then to index, like you want to access the elements of a list of a variable. And I said that the indexing in Python starts from 0. For example, the first character or the first element will be the index will be 0. The index of the second one will be 1, 2, 3, 4. Then and on like that. If you want to check the fifth element, we just put great. Then we make use of this square brackets. Then we put 5. Then there is negative indexing, which starts from the back: -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. And we have slicing. Slicing is just to get a range of value from the variable. For example, we need ELLO. Then we say we are starting from 1. If we start from 0, that's going to be age, but we are starting from 1, that's ELLO. I said that this fifth one will not be included. If you want it to be included, we put 5, we put 6, we add a number to it. Then this is a for loop. For loop is like you want to go over something. You want to go over each letter in this grid variable. Then you print each of the letters out. This is the string method. Index, we want to check the index position of age. Our grid is LO. Then we want to check the position of age. That's the first position. Then to count how many age do we have, we have just one. How many L do we have in our grid variable? We have 2. Then we can use upper to change to uppercase, lowercase, title case. We can swap the case. We can replace a character by another. Then this is the multi-line string I wrote the other time. The split is just to break it down. By default, it will be splitted like at the where we have this white space. this empty space. That's where the splitting will take place. Though we have this each word separately. That's the function of splits. So this is concatenation. We are adding one string to another. If you want space to be at the middle, we put space, a quotation mark, then a single space. It depends on the number of space we have. Then we talk about escape character. If you need something in your string, you want it to be included as part of your syntax, we use the escape character, which is this backslash and the quotation, the two of them combined. We have the opening one and the closing one. Then we talk about for loop. For loop is used to like iterating over a sequence. We want to go through, for example, let's say we have a basket of orange. Then we want to make sure we go through all the oranges in the basket. That's the function of the for loop. Oh, I didn't talk about this break continue. Yeah. Let me quickly include that before we finish the class. I can put it somewhere here. Okay, you can stop actually. So let me go. Some people might find Colab more interesting. Colab.research.google.com. The interface looks exactly like the Jupyter Notebook. It will first bring you to this kind of interface when you launch it for the first time. This is what you're going to see. Then you can start a new notebook. If you have a notebook on your system you want to upload, you can upload a new notebook. Then you can upload from Google Drive. So I will be starting a new notebook now. This is a new notebook. So the interface looks exactly like the Jupyter Notebook. We just have some technique. We have the view menu. From the view menu, you can open a new notebook, you can upload notebook, you can rename your notebook, you can move to trash, you can copy, you can save to GitHub, you can edit, like you can have different version of it. Then we have the edit menu. Exactly, just type 2+2. So you press the same way you run the Jupyter Notebook. 2+2, then bag equals to bag. Then to run your code, what's this? 2+2. 4. So to run your code, just click runtime. Run the focus cell. This is the cell we are focused on. Just click run the focus cell. We have the bag. Then we want to see B. What is in B? And we have bag. Yeah, that's it. The shortcut is Shift Enter for those that are using Windows. For this one, there are a lot of shortcuts that I've been using. For example, I want to add many new cells after this LO. I will just after this particular one. Okay, after this, I will just press B. Each B will be adding one new cell. Then I want to delete, just press D, double D. Then if you want to do D, you make a mistake, you want to correct it. You see the last thing you did, just click undo, delete cell, then undo till you get to the last point you were. So I'll be deleting this. To change this to Markdown, this is in code. To change it to Markdown, I will just press M on my system. It has changed. Then to change it to code back, I will press Y. It has changed to code. So if there is one or two questions, you are free to ask questions now.
I have a question.
Okay.
My question is about the Boolean's data type. Let's assume now we have two comparison of a string, which one is false, the other one is true. Then we have
True or false?
Yes, Boolean data type. Two combination of Boolean data type. One is true, one is false, and the other one is true.
Do you want it with and or which one of the two?
False, I mean and
True
with and.
or false? So what do you think the output will be?
True or false? That's what I'm trying to ask. I want
True
you
or
to
false means we don't care. We just need either of the condition to be true.
no.
For everything to be true, only one of the two has to be true. So this one is going to give us
This is not what I mean. This is not what I mean actually.
Okay.
Let's assume now we have 2 Boolean type data type. Do you understand? Like
Like
5,
3 greater than 5.
yes, which
Or
is this one is true, right? No, this
yes.
one is
No.
false, actually. Hello?
Hello.
Yeah. 3 greater than 5.
Okay.
Yes, that's what that is false, right?
So the
Then
first condition.
yes, then
And
5 equals to 5. Something like
5
that.
equals to 5. We know that this will evaluate to false. Then this will
Then,
evaluate to true.
yes. Now, if you run
This
this code, now can you run this code?
this is going to give us false because when we make use of and, for us to get true, both condition must be true. Just like true and true is true and false is false.
Then that is the reason why. That's what I'm trying to ask. Why is it false? True and false. Why is it false? And in a normal logic way, when you say true, false and false, not logically is supposed to be true.
No, false and false is false because everything is a lie.
Oh, well,
You
okay.
can see it.
Can I say something about that?
Okay.
Actually, if you can use like let me say words like to explain, it will be more clearer because logic this true or false is a kind of logical statement. So for example, let me say your name is Abdullah.
Okay.
You know, when you say your name is Abdullah, that is a false statement.
Yes.
So I said your name is Abdullah and you are a student at UM6P.
Okay.
Now, one of the statement is already false. That means everything I have said there is false.
Yes, because the and is there.
So if it were to be or, then we don't care. Just one
If
of them.
once any one of the statements is true, then we have our true result.
You are still saying different thing from what Abdullah is saying.
No,
If, no,
Abdullah is the same thing, right?
We
your
actually
name is
said the same thing.
Abdullah. Wait, your name is Abdullah and you are a student of UMCSP. One of the
Yes.
statements is wrong and one of the statement is true. That means,
Yes.
according to the Abdullah, the whole statement is wrong.
Yes.
Yes.
Because the connection between the two statements is
It
and.
depends on the connection we have between the two. If the
The
connection is
connection between the
and,
statement is and.
if the connection is and, then we need both statements to be true before we can have a true output. But if the connection is or, we just need one of the statements to be true. Then we have our true output.
Yes, I got it. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other question? In the absence of no question, we can stop the class for now. I will drop the attendance link in the chat box now.